Alright, so today we are going to be doing an inverted bob, and on my lovely model Kathy. She has some beautiful hair, and we usually do a bob on her, but we're just going to accentuate it a little bit more today and make it a little more inverted.
Sorry.
Yo.
I know.
Shush.
Sorry.
Now it sounds like someone's questioning me from the audience.
Yo.
Okay, so now we're going to take and we're going to section her hair into 4 different sections. So first, I'm going to start from the top of the head to the ear. So I'm going to bring it down. Push it forward. Alright, so now I'm going to go from the apex down to her nape and just drive my comb all the way down.
Wow.
And just try to get as straight a line as you can. You know, it's not going to make a huge difference, but it just helps to know what you've cut and what sections you are.
No, I got.
I'm just going to clip this out of the way.
Yeah, one bit.
Okay, so I'm going to have her angle her head down. I'm going to start with an inch section going from her neckline up. If you take a section too thick and you try to cut it, you have too much hair there, and you're going to get a lot of choppiness, and you're not going to get a straight, clean line. So we're going to do her neckline. So as you can see, when I pull the hair up, that's right about here. So that's about 2.5 inches. Comb down, hold my comb there like this, and I'm going to start in the middle because it's going to be inverted. So I'm going to start here and make my first cut. And that is going to be called our guide. So then I'm going to comb this side,
Something else instead, and then I was still.
flat down, hold that with my comb, go from my guide, and cut down. When you're cutting against the neck, you want to be very careful. So a good trick is while you're cutting, you push forward, and as you cut down, pull back. That's going to ensure that you don't snip their neck, because these are very sharp shears, and that is very likely to happen. The tighter you have it, the straighter you have it, and the thinner the section, the more precise that cut's going to be, and you won't have to go back and detail it so many times. Now just repeat. So then what you want to do is you want to cross-check or check your sides. So I'm going to take these two and pull them down and just make sure they're even. You want to angle these also a little bit. So I'm not going straight like this. I'm angling it down a little bit. So my section is thin enough to where I can see where my guide is underneath. So now I just pull that down. And if you ever want to double check, just slide under, pull it up, and you can see where that hair is underneath, and that's where your guide is. If ever you can't see your guide, it means your section's too thick and you need a resection. So now that I have my guide at the bottom, I don't necessarily need to keep bringing all my sections down to it, because I'm just going to go back and make my layers anyways. So when I kind of get to this point, right at about the occipital bone, is when I start to do my layering. So that's going to, so I'm going to pull this straight out, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow the angle, the diagonal angle that has been made from my first couple sections. So the shortest is here, and then as it goes up, it gets a little longer. So I'm going to follow that, and you can see it when you pull it out. You'll be able to see your guide, but it's going to be at about a 45-degree angle. So a 90 is straight out, so then a 45 is going to be just right in the middle between straight down and straight out. So if you can make a 45-degree angle, you come out like that. And you don't want to have too much tension, just hold it loosely. You don't want to pull too much because it's going to affect the way the hair drops. So just pull it out, have it at a good point, and then lighten your grip up. And then I'm just going to go down and cut. So now when I pull it out, it has a graduated layer. So that when it comes down, you can see already how it wants to round under. Now, as you move on to the sides, you're going to over direct those a little bit. I'm going to take this and I'm just going to pull that, just like I did the last section, comb that all, and I'm going to comb that towards the middle. And now you can see where my guide is, right here. So I'm going to cut it right along there. And like I said before, the section should be thin enough to where you can see the guide underneath it. So bring all that out. You can see where I need to cut. And let's cut that off. And when I get to this point where I'm grabbing these hairs, I like to do two things, and this is going to help me really get a perfect line. I'm going to bring it back to my section, cut that little bit off, but then I'm going to take it and pull it directly out from the head. So I'm going to pull it directly out, and then you'll see there should be a line. If there's any hairs that surpass that, just nip those. And this is kind of like cross-checking too. So it'll still be a little shorter in the middle here, but it shouldn't be as graduated as when you pull it straight to your middle guide. And then bring it down, and you can see now that everything looks good except for there's this extra length right here. That's when you take this and then you bring it to your guide like this, and I can see that that little bit needs to go. Now I have a perfect diagonal line, and when I comb it out, you can see how it falls just like this. Okay, so I'm going to take the next section over.
No.
And I'm going to make sure to always over direct it to the middle. So this is the middle, and I'm coming from here, so I'm not pulling it straight out from her head. I'm pulling it straight out and bringing it towards the middle where my stationary guide is. And I'm going to find where I left off, so when I bring it like this, I can see, okay, this is where I was cutting last. So you can see all this needs to be cut. So I bring it out like this, I follow that guide, and then I'm just bringing it up a little. As you get further to the side, you're going to notice that you don't have as much to cut because obviously you're needing to pull it further out, so you're going to lose a lot of that length. But that's okay because you want this to be longer, so that's why you're going to cut less. Shorter here, longer here. Hence the invert. So now I'm all the way on the side, as you can see. I'm going to reach to the right a little bit. So I'm pulling all this up and I'm pulling it right to the middle. And there's not a lot. This is a nice line I've already cut, but I'm just going to make sure I get everything so there's nothing passing my fingertips. So you can see just a nice clean line. And then I'm going to take down here and I'm going to eliminate what we call a weight line. So anywhere that there was extra length or weight, pull it out, and you can see there's just like various random little hairs. So I'm just going to nip that, go further. So I'm going to take a section right here called the Mohawk section. Okay. So I'm going to pull all this up. So if I were to be doing like just another haircut, another layer, doing like a 180-degree layer, I would bring everything up and I would bring everything up to that, and it would be like this. But for this, I want the layers to be inverted as well as her length. So that means that I want everything to come back to this point, So you can see when I release that, that's going to be longer than this. So it's going to be inverted as I release it. So I'm going to first pick my length of my stationary guide, which I'm not just going to choose, I'm going to go with what I've been doing. So I'm going to take a little bit from that back, which should have all come to the same point if you were following your guide, and bring this up. So you can see it's about right here. It is angled, it goes up like this. So, you know, that's pretty much already good. I'm just going to clean that up a little bit. So this is my stationary guide. Everything comes to this point. So I'm going to go further, and I'm going to first bring that up to the center of the head. So not spread out like this, but center of the head. And then I'm going to over direct it back to my guide. So not only are you over directing it to the middle of the head, to the middle part, but you're over directing it to your stationary guide. Jump up. Got that. Up into the middle. And then to my guide. And when you bring it up, you can see like a couple little hairs here, because obviously like some parts of her hairline go further. So those are going to be a little longer, so you can just trim those. Alright, okay. So I'm going to take a little bit from, so I already have all this cut. This is all cut. So now I want to take a little bit forward. I go about an inch from her ear. I'm going to take that and try not to get her earring. And then I'm going to pull that directly back. And I'm going to see with my guide what needs to go. So I'm just going to... What are you doing to her?
Tried to pick her up a weird way.
She clearly does not like that.
Yeah, I got that.
Okay, so I'm going to pull this down. This is even. I'm just going to nip that. Like I said, try not to be too elevated. Try to be as straight down as you can. And what you can do if you want is you can bring everything back and over direct it. That's one way. If you're more confident and you've done more of these, you can kind of freehand it. But since my guide for the front is right here and I already have my length cut to here, it's a very small little section that I have to cut. So I can just bring that down like that and get this. So then I'm just going to go from the front, and I'm just going to double check that this is even. Obviously, that's very important. You want the front points to be even.
Half deaf.
Oh, it's half deaf, so instead of just turning it up, you turn
See
it
if
to
there's
such
any ambient noise around. I'm saying, asking.
There's a kitty in the background.
So now that our hair is dried,
Titty sprinkles. Sorry.
babe, you're so immature, I can't even handle it.
No
Conversation.
drama.